Hey, what's more fun than actually reading? Talking about what we're going to read. Let's talk about my winter 2021 TBR. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Welcome to 2021. I am Mike, and I'm going to tell you about everything that I plan to read this first quarter of 2021. What I like to call my winter TBR. I know most channels will do a TBR video every month. I feel like that's just getting you bogged down because as much as I've been known to flip my TBR, I don't think I do it that much. So I like to do 3 months in advance. So this is going to be January, February, March of 2021. Everything that I have planned. I hope you guys will share with me what you're planning to read. I hope a lot of you will maybe join this. A lot of the things that I like to do this for is so as others, while I'm doing the one big read along, which we'll talk about in a second, a lot of other viewers like to read what I'm reading when I'm reading it. So I make sure that they know what I'm going to read, when I'm going to read it, in case they want to join and kind of have like an unofficial read along. It's just fun to talk about what you're reading with other people, especially when they're reading it at the same time. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Let's start with January. Obviously, if you've been on the channel for anywhere of the last 12 months, you know that the Malazan channel read along has begun now. I'm about halfway through Gardens of the Moon right now. That is pretty much taking priority. Malazan is going to be the meat and potatoes of this channel for the next 2 years. So I want to make sure that we get off on the right foot. And this is just getting a lot of conversation on the Discord, so much that it's hard to keep up at times. But yeah, all I'll say right now is as advertised, it is something you really need to make sure that you focus on because, yeah, it's dense. Dense is the word I hear a lot, and that's just perfectly stated. But I'm enjoying it. I think I am more immersed in this world than I have any new fantasy world since I first picked up Stormlight Archive 4 years ago. So that is the highest kind of compliment that I can give it. I'm having a great time with it so far. And if that's the worst book in the series, like some have told me it is, then I'm in for one hell of a ride. After that, I'm going to kind of cleanse the palate with my guy Stephen King, and one that I actually skipped the first time, Revival. Really quickly, if you don't know, I had kind of a soft breakup with Stephen King when I was really just mad about, I was a much younger man back then, it was 15 years ago. I was angry with the way that I felt like he rushed the ending of Dark Tower because he was scared of dying after his accident, which I get. But so it was kind of had like a soft breakup, and I didn't read Stephen King for 8 years. It took 11/22/63 to bring me back because I'm real big into the JFK assassination. But during that period, anything he put out, I didn't read or didn't go back to. Not everything yet. Some I have, others I have not. But Revival is one that I really want to get to because a lot of people said it has some of his best horror stuff since the 80s. And, he's more into the drama and the hard crime stuff now. But a lot of people have been saying, yeah, this is definitely a throwback to his horror stuff and his H.P. Lovecraftian kind of influences as a horror writer. So anytime you hear, hey, Stephen King's writing kind of like Lovecraft kind of stuff. Okay, sure, sign me up. Last time he did that, we got The Mist, and that's one of my favorite stories of his. So always a good time to get back into King. So hopefully that'll completely clear the palate. Let me decompress a little bit from Gardens of the Moon before I move on to another huge fantasy universe, and that will be diving into Robin Hobb's Realm of the Eldlings for the first time with Assassin's Apprentice. And I get to read out this handsome illustrated edition. If you guys don't have these, they are so worth it. So nice. But yeah, I'm very bit as excited about that as I am about Malazan, just because talk about how long I've been aware of Malazan, and I haven't read it, and I just kind of kept kicking that can down the road. I've known about Robin Hobb since I was in high school, and that was in the 90s, guys. So yeah, it feels like a long time coming for both of these series. I'm already kind of having to think, wow, was it really smart to stagger two very big worlds like this? But with from everything I've heard about Realm of the Eldlings, it's more character focused, where Malazan seems to be much more world focused. So I think it'll be a good balance. At least I hope so, or else it's going to be a long year. But here's the thing: I'm only committing to Farseer right now. If I like that, I'll keep going with Hobb. I'm not going to commit to another 17, 19 books or something like that. I'm not going to commit to that while I'm in the middle of Malazan. But if I like it, obviously I'll keep the door open for the, what is that, for the Tawny Man or the Fitz and the Fool? I can't even remember the order of those, but I'll definitely keep the door open for the rest of that series. Let's go ahead and move along to February. So how do you follow up two epic fantasy stories with a nice little palate cleanser that's actually still part of a series? Well, you switch genres. So that's going to be going back to science fiction, and my guy Christopher Rocchio. I'm going to be continuing the Sun Eater series with Howling Dark. It's book 2 of the 3 that are released. Book 4 is not coming until next year. But I'm excited to get back to that world. I did a review for Empire of Silence. You guys know that I liked it quite a bit. I've actually talked to the author here on the channel too. Very, very great guy. So I really cannot wait to get back in that world and see what he's cooked up, because he really did set the appetizer really well with round 1. So I can't wait to see kind of where that goes. And I feel like reading science fiction after some really heavy fantasy like Robin Hobb and Steven Erikson, I think that'll be the right way to go before I dive into my Dark Tower reread, which I'm doing slowly with Into the Multiverse, a series I do where I'm going through King's books published under his own name in publication order. And next up is going to be for the month of January, it's going to be February, for Drawing of the Three. This is, in my memory, this is my favorite Stephen King book. I've never reread these guys. I only read them. I read the first 4 when they were available, and not when they were available. When book 4 came out, I read the first 4 books, and then I read 5, 6, and 7 upon release. So I've never reread this series. I reread The Gunslinger back last fall and talked about it, but in my memory, Drawing of the Three was my favorite. So I'm interested to see if that sticks around. But God, I can't wait to visit Midworld again, because Dark Tower is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, regardless of how I felt about that ending. Or, you know what? It's conversation for then. I'll leave it for then. It isn't the ending. It's something else. Anyhow, and then I'll be ending the month of February by going back into Malazan. And this, of course, is Deadhouse Gates. A little beefier of a book than book 1. And that seems to be a trend that continues with that series all the way until the end. But I figured that this one will I'll start in February, because it's not like those 2 books I just held up were light reads. I'll probably start in February, but I'm giving myself a little bit of room on the schedule to kind of float into March if need be. Obviously, I'm going to be kind of loose on this, but again, what I keep saying is, yes, my TBR is lighter this year because I want to make sure that I give Malazan the room I need. If I start struggling with it, and I need to really take my time, because what I've noticed with Gardens of the Moon already is I just read that paragraph, I'm going to read it again. So I'm going to be reading it a little slower. And again, these aren't small books. So I want to make sure I'm giving it the attention to detail that it needs and giving it the time to breathe. Don't feel like, oh God, I got to hurry up and read something else. So right now, I feel like this is the best way to do it. 3 books a month. And if this one kind of rolls into March, so be it. So let's talk about March. So then I started thinking, what's a good palate cleanser after something like Deadhouse Gates? Do I want to jump right back into the science fiction after that, or do I want to take a break even from that? So I thought, you know what? My favorite book of all time is Dune, and I've never got my wife to read it. And you know what? I don't give her a hard time about that, because I feel like Dune is something you can't force on people. You got to wait until they're ready to read it. And I encourage her to do that. But I also haven't read her favorite book of all time, which is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's no reason why I haven't read it. I mean, I own this beautiful edition. You think I would have read it by now. I just never have. I never have, and I don't know why. I think part of me is because, like, she loves it so much. What if I don't like it? That's going to be a fun conversation. But you know what? We've been married like 10 years now. We can talk about these things, right? But I don't know. I just thought it was a really good time for it, It's a shorter story. It doesn't take a lot. And I feel like after Deadhouse Gates, I might just be melting and need something to kind of decompress. And that seems like it would be perfect. Not too long, not too serious. Not that Lewis Carroll wasn't a serious writer, but you know what I mean. It's a little more fun, more fantastical than just straight, epic fantasy or something. And kind of checks off my list where I want to do some more classics this year. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do some more Ray Bradbury, because I really enjoyed revisiting Ray Bradbury last year. But for now, I think that would be perfect before I jump back into Farseer with book number 2, which is Royal Assassin. The cool thing about this, the way that I've got it spaced out, is that illustrated edition for the 3rd book in Farseer will be out by the time I get to it. So again, I'm glad I waited to read it with these beautiful, beautiful illustrated editions. I can't wait. And it's exciting times with these 2 new series I'm doing this year. And then I'll be concluding the available Sun Eater books with Demon in White by Mr. Rocchio. And that will kind of wrap up the month of March, leading us into April. Yes, I do have the entire year scheduled right now. Yes, I do know it's going to change. Yes, I do know some people find that weird. I don't. I like to plan ahead for these things. So I do have a greater focus on science fiction. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you only had 2 science fiction books listed there. Wait for it. It's going to come. There are a couple of trilogies I want to get out of the way first, like the Poppy War and Farseer. And then there's some big sci-fi stuff coming to the channel, including Hyperion, including Remembrance of Earth's Past, including the Bobaverse, all kinds of stuff like that. There's going to be lots of sci-fi this year. So if you were looking for it here and you're calling, hey, Mike, I'm calling you on your bullshit. You told me you're doing more sci-fi this year. Look, I already got 2 sci-fi books in the first quarter. That's more than I had last year. So I think you guys will be satisfied when you see the final number when you compare fantasy, sci-fi, and horror this year. I think it'll be a much more of a balance than we had in 2020. But guys, what do you have on your list this year? What are you reading in January? What are you reading in February? Hell, what are you reading in March? Go ahead and hit me with all these things, all your plans. You just want to hit me with your whole year? Go ahead, guys. No wrong answers. Tell me the stuff that you're reading right now, what you're going to read, what you want to read, what's going to happen. I can't wait to talk to you guys there.